Well, hello there, my friend. Welcome back for the second video of the day. We've got a very busy day here on my YouTube channel. This is my YouTube channel. My name is Gavin. Here on this channel, we really do like to cut through the fluff and the sensationalism and true crime and get really down into the nitty-gritty. Of course, the case that we are talking about, that the world seems to be talking about right now, is the case of the murder of Charlie Kirk, I would say a conservative influencer. He was definitely a political activist. I don't want to, you guys know, I try to stay apolitical, politically neutral on this channel, and having a victim that is a politician, not an elected official, but definitely a politician, makes that tough. So I want to give a special thank you to Mooney and Robin and Autumn and to who are my moderators, and to all of you who keep it classy. I know that there's a huge, I guess, temptation to argue and talk about his politics, and I understand it. I totally get it. But what we're after here today is to talk about the case. Right now, earlier today, we watched a press conference where the county attorney for the county of Utah County in the state of Utah. How many times can you say county and Utah together in one sentence? I think that was probably the record. Anyway, basically read the information sheet and told us a little bit about charges and all of that stuff. We actually got all of those documents that have been filed so far today from the Utah, it's called Exchange. It's the Utah court system. Just to kind of show you this. So, of course, it doesn't want to show. Give me a second. I hate it when that happens. Let me just refreshify it a little bit. That should bring it up. There we go. So we have 4 documents that we're actually going to go over tonight at my normally scheduled time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. This is the bail order. We have a public safety assessment. We have the information sheet, which is basically what they read today, but we're going to go over it point by point. And then we have the probable cause affidavit, which includes a little bit more. So we're going to go over those 4 things tonight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. And until then, we are just going to await the hearing that is scheduled to start right now. Now, obviously, it's court. It doesn't always start on time. In fact, it pretty much always starts late. So let's just check in and see what you guys are saying over here. Brenda is saying that it's early where she is. I'm not sure where Brenda is. Almost 7 a.m. I guess I could do the math, right? So you're 10 hours behind us? What's 10 hours behind us? I'm on the East Coast. All right. Brenda, tell us where you're from. I can't remember. J. Rivet says, thanks for all you do. Glad you are here. We got Louisiana checking in. We've got Oklahoma checking in. Unyielding Activist says, I only watch where there are good moderators. Yours are much appreciated. Well, thanks for saying that, Unyielding Activist. Thank you for being active in such an unyielding way. It's awesome. Mama Mia says, no, Colleen says, wrong button. Does anyone besides me think the world is extremely more violent than before COVID? What an interesting observation. The world changed through the COVID pandemic for sure. I mean, I've always looked at it kind of locally. Like, we had 2 children in high school during the pandemic. One didn't really get a graduation ceremony, and one barely got that. It definitely changed the way my family and my children behave. Has it gotten more violent? I mean, It is a pretty violent place, that's for sure. Lynette says, Gavin, your voice is so soft sounding, it's hard for me to hear you. Let's see. I show that I'm clipping. Oh, here we go.
Good afternoon. My name is Judge Graff. I will be handling the first appearance calendar today. At the conclusion of the hearing, for the first case, the court will take a recess and remind all those who are scheduled for the first appearance calendar to log back in 15 minutes after the court has taken a recess. As a general note, no electronic usage is allowed unless pre-approved. Any disruptions will be removed. To the jail, are we ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Calling case 251-403.
Thank you very much for
State of
watching
Utah
this.
versus
Sorry.
Tyler James Robinson. Could you state your name?
Tyler James Robinson.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Robinson. I'm Judge Graff. Mr. Skordas.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. You're probably already aware of my presence or why I'm here, but if not, I am not entering an appearance. I'm not counsel on this case. I'm working with the county to get counsel assigned, but we need you to allow for the appointment of counsel.
Thank you, Mr. Skordas. I want to go through the qualifications
Absolutely.
for indigency, but that is my intent, Mr. Skordas.
Very well.
And I thank you for being here. So, Mr. Robinson, you have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, the court can appoint an attorney to represent you. I have reviewed your declaration of financial status and find that you are indigent. I'm provisionally appointing a Rule 8 qualified attorney to represent you on your case, Mr. Robinson. Along with their filing of their appearance of counsel, the assigned attorneys must file declarations with the court that outline their qualifications under Rule 8 and under Rule 8B and Rule 8C for counsel appointment in a case where death may be a sentencing option. I'm ordering that those declarations be filed prior to the next hearing date, which is set for September 29th at 10 a.m. Mr. Robinson, I also wish to inform you of your right against self-incrimination. Anything that you say in court today could be used against you, and we want to protect your constitutional rights. Mr. Robinson, at this time, you will remain in custody without bail. Mr. Skordas, is there any other points that you wish to address?
No, thank you very much, Your Honor.
Turning to the state.
Yes, Your Honor. Chad Grunander for the state. I'm also joined, and they're listed as attendees, Ryan McBride, Lauren Hunt, David Sturgill, and Chris Ballard. We are the trial team on this case. I do have a few points I'd like to bring up with Your Honor. We have filed a pretrial protective order on behalf of Erica Kirk. We would ask the court to review that. It should be in your queue, Your Honor, and sign that.
Thank you. I have reviewed the pretrial protective order and will be issuing this pretrial protective order in favor of Erica Kirk. Is there any other business that we need to address today, counsel?
Just for the court's information, we did file just recently, within the last few minutes, a notice of intent to seek the death penalty that was filed by Utah County Attorney Jeff Gray. So that should be in the court's file. Lastly, I would just indicate to the court and to, at this point, Mr. Robinson, that we are prepared to collect all of the discovery in this matter and get that turned over to the defense as soon as possible. Rule 16 requires us to provide what we have relied on in charging the information and bringing these charges within 5 days once it's requested. So that'll be prepared to disseminate to the defense as soon as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Grunander. Mr. Robinson, what I also want to do is you have the right to have the charges read that you stand charged of, and I wish to read those to you at this time. Thank you. Mr. Robinson, for count 1, aggravated murder, a capital felony in violation of Utah Code annotated 76-5-202, in that on September 10th, 2025 in Utah County, the defendant, Tyler James Robinson, intentionally or knowingly caused the death of Charlie Kirk under the following circumstances. The defendant knowingly created a great risk of death to another individual other than Charlie Kirk and the defendant. Notice conviction of this offense may carry the death penalty or pursuant to Utah Code 76-3-207.7, a mandatory term of imprisonment for life without parole or an indeterminate term of not less than 25 years, and that may be for life. Victim targeting enhancement in violation of Utah Code annotated 76-3-203.14 sub 2. Tyler James Robinson intentionally selected Charlie Kirk because of Tyler James Robinson's belief or perception regarding Charlie Kirk's political expression. Notice if the trier of fact finds beyond a reasonable doubt that the victim targeting enhancement applies, the sentencing judge or the Board of Pardons and Parole shall consider the defendant's selection of the victim as an aggravating factor. Violent offense committed in the presence of a child aggravating factor, the sentencing judge or the Board of Pardons and Parole shall consider as an aggravating factor in their deliberations that the defendant committed a violent criminal offense in the presence of a child. Count 2, felony discharge of a firearm causing serious bodily injury, a first-degree felony in violation of Utah Code annotated 76-11-210 sub 2 and 3C, in that on September 10th, 2025 in Utah County, the defendant Tyler James Robinson discharged a firearm in the direction of Charlie Kirk, knowing or having reason to believe that Charlie Kirk may be endangered by the discharge of the firearm and that the act caused serious bodily injury to Charlie Kirk.
I'll come back to this one, Sensei.
Enhancement in violation of Utah Code annotated 76-3-203.14 sub 2. Tyler James Robinson intentionally selected Charlie Kirk because Tyler James Robinson's belief or perception regarding Charlie Kirk's political expression. Notice if the trier of fact finds beyond a reasonable doubt that the victim targeting enhancement applies, the sentencing judge or the Board of Pardons and Parole shall consider the defendant's selection of the victim as an aggravating factor. Violent offense committed in the presence of a child aggravating factor. The sentencing judge or the Board of Pardons and Parole shall consider an aggravating factor in their deliberations that the defendant committed a violent offense in the presence of a child. Count 3, obstruction of justice, a second-degree felony in violation of Utah Code annotated 76-8-306 sub 2, in that on September 10th, 2025 in Utah County, the defendant Tyler James Robinson, with intent to hinder, delay, or prevent the investigation, apprehension, prosecution, conviction, or pursuant to any person regarding conduct that constitutes a criminal offense, conceal or remove the firearm used to shoot Charlie Kirk, and the conduct that constitutes an offense would be a capital felony or a first-degree felony. Count 4, obstruction of justice, a second-degree felony in violation of Utah Code 76-8-306 sub 2, in that on or about September 11th, 2025 in Utah County, the defendant, Tyler James Robinson, with an intent to hinder, delay, or prevent the investigation, apprehension, prosecution, conviction, or punishment of any person regarding conduct that constitutes a criminal offense, destroyed, concealed, or removed the clothing he wore during the shooting, and the conduct that constitutes an offense would be a capital felony or first-degree felony. Count 5, tampering with a witness, a third-degree felony in violation of Utah Code annotated 76-8-508, in that on or about September 10th, 2025 in Utah County, the defendant, Tyler James Robinson, believed that an official proceeding or investigation was pending or about to be instituted or intended to prevent an official proceeding or investigation, and attempted to induce or otherwise cause his roommate to withhold testimony, information, a document or an item to wit, directing his roommate to delete incriminating text messages. Count 6, tampering with a witness, a third-degree felony in violation of Utah Code Annotated 76-8-508 in that on or about September 11th, 2025 in Utah County, the defendant, Tyler James Robinson, believed that an official proceeding or investigation was pending or about to be instituted, or intended to prevent an official proceeding or investigation, and attempted to induce or otherwise cause his roommate to withhold testimony or information, to wit, directing his roommate to stay silent if the police questioned the roommate. Count 7, violent offense committed in the presence of a child, a Class A misdemeanor in violation of Utah Code Annotated 76-3-203.10 sub 2 and 76-3-203.14 sub 3A little double I in that on or about September 10th, 2025 in Utah County, the defendant, Tyler James Robinson, committed criminal homicide in the physical presence of a child younger than 14 years of age, with knowledge that a child was present and that may have been seen or heard the commission of the criminal homicide. Victim targeting enhancement in violation of Utah Code Annotated 76-3-203.14 sub 2, Tyler James Robinson intentionally selected Charlie Kirk because of Tyler James Robinson's belief or perception regarding Charlie Kirk's political expression. That concludes reading the information. Mr. Robinson, this case is set for September 29th at 10 a.m. It will be a waiver hearing, and I will be the judge assigned to this case. Mr. Robinson, I invite you to join us at that time. Is there anything further, counsel?
No, Your Honor, we'll have counsel appointed by then. Thank you.
Mr. Gurander, anything further?
One item, just for clarification, Your Honor, the hearing on the 29th, is that in person or WebEx?
Thank you. That is a great question. It will be via WebEx.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
All right. I want to thank all parties for being here, and this concludes this hearing at this time. Court is in recess.
That is very simple. Very simple little hearing. Just a preliminary arraignment, looks like. Couple things that I jotted. Oh, there was a question. What was that question? Let me just make sure I got this question. Sensei Wackadoodle. Whacking those doodles. How come he has what looks like he has a bulletproof vest on, but he's on a Zoom hearing? Where is he? Sorry, UK viewer here, so a little confused. Yeah, okay. First of all, he was at the Utah County Jail. He was not in court, so he just joined by video conference. That outfit, let's say, that he had on is affectionately known as a turtle suit. They are used in jails throughout the United States. They are a very thick quilted fabric with no like loose anything that could be tied or anything like that. And basically it is designed, I think the technical term is an anti-suicide smock, I think is what they usually call them, but it's a smock that is used to make sure that a person who may harm themselves while they're in jail won't be able to do that with their clothing. That typically also means that he probably doesn't have access to anything else that might harm him. Sometimes that even includes a mattress. Yeah, it's pretty tough. And just so you guys know, let me see if I can a second, just to establish some bona fides here. In the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, I'm going to kind of cover this up. We have what's called the Pennsylvania Prison Society. The Pennsylvania Prison Society was established by Benjamin Franklin, and it is tasked with making sure that jails, that basically inmates are protected from being abused or all sorts of things inside a jail. I have just finally gotten my official prisoner or prison visitor card, so I'm actually able to go make inspections at Pennsylvania jails and prisons. So I've been studying up. Haven't done it yet. I've got some training that's going to be happening. But anyway, that's what that is. It's the yeah, good question. Turtle suit. We call them turtle suits. If you go to Google Images and just search turtle suit, you will find it. Sensei is also happy to be here. I'm glad you're here. Yeah, Patty says, so the presence of a child seems to be an aggravating factor in Utah. Yeah, I think a lot of states actually have those aggravating factors. I think it's really interesting that that exists. But if you're going to do crime, do it outside the presence of a child, I guess, right? Teotoys says Gavin is a good catch in a sea of true crime. Chief Shenanigan. Okay, so we've got Sensei Wackadoodle. We've got Chief Shenanigan Officer. You know who we haven't seen recently is Royal Order of the Frank. Where is Royal Order of the Frank? By the way, I was inducted into the Royal Order of the Frank. It's very prestigious. But anyway, Chief, our CSO, just finished watching the earlier live. Perfect timing. Thank you for all the factual and neutral coverage. Well, you are most welcome. Glad to do that. See if there's anything else that you guys want me to. Sally Solomon says that's actually what that is he's wearing. Yes, retired corrections officer from New Jersey. Thank you very much, Sally, for confirming what it is that I said. Autumn says some jails also have special mats for inmates on watch. Thanks, Autumn. Anything else you guys want to want me to see? Since we watched that, I brought up the document, but real quick, let's go over the counts one more time. I have multiple buttons to push here. So he's got 7 counts, and we heard about these in the press conference earlier today, but I couldn't keep I couldn't type fast enough to keep up with them. So count 1 is aggravated murder. The aggravated factor, of course, is down here. Oops. There's a victim targeting enhancement. The aggravating factor was committed in the presence of a child. Okay, so count 1, aggravated murder, a capital felony. In Utah County, defendant Robinson intentionally, knowingly caused the death of Charlie Kirk. Under the following circumstances, the defendant knowingly created a great risk of death to another individual other than Charlie Kirk, the defendant. Indeed, he did. Indeed, he did. The bullet passed by several people. That was, I don't know. They split hairs here, and they should. But it's probably enough that he aimed a gun and caused the death of Mr. Kirk. This conviction of this offense may carry the death penalty or, pursuant to Utah Code, a mandatory term of imprisonment for life without parole, or an indeterminate term of not less than 25 years, and that may be for life. Interesting how it says that. So it could be the DP, or it could be mandatory term of imprisonment of life without parole, or an indeterminate time of not less than 25 years that may be for life. Interesting how they say that. Victim targeting enhancement, violation of blah, blah, blah. Robinson intentionally selected Charlie Kirk because of Robinson's belief or perception regarding Charlie Kirk's political expression. If the trier of facts finds beyond a reasonable doubt that the victim targeting enhancement applies, the sentencing judge or the Board of Pardons and Parole shall consider the defendant's selection of the victim as an aggravating factor. Okay. Violent offense committed in the presence of a child. So the sentencing judge or the Board of Pardons and Parole shall consider as an aggravating factor in their deliberations that the defendant committed a violent criminal offense in the presence of a child. I like that. I like the idea. We talked about this yesterday of letting kids be kids. And we also talked about how children have become desensitized. At least it appears so. To me, anyway. So I like the idea of there being an aggravating factor of doing something violent in front of kids. I like that. So count 2 is a felony discharge of a firearm causing serious bodily injury, first-degree felony. In that on the 10th, Robinson discharged a firearm in the direction of Charlie Kirk, knowing or having reason to believe that Charlie Kirk may be endangered by the discharge of the firearm, and the act caused serious bodily injury to Charlie Kirk. And then victim targeting enhancement says that Robinson intentionally selected Kirk because of Robinson's belief or perception regarding Kirk's political expression. And then again, violent offense committed in the presence of a child is an aggravating factor. Count 3, obstruction of justice. Now, this is interesting because this is the day of, and then there was one the day after. So the murder took place on September 10th. So it's a second-degree felony. On the 10th, in Utah County, the defendant, Robinson, with intent to hinder, delay, or prevent the investigation, apprehension, prosecution, conviction, or punishment of any person regarding conduct that constitutes a criminal offense, concealed or removed the firearm used to shoot Charlie Kirk, and the conduct that constitutes an offense would be a capital felony. So, okay, obstruction of justice, hiding the gun. All right. Count 4, obstruction of justice, is the next day. Says that Robinson, with the intent to hinder, delay, or prevent the investigation, apprehension, blah, 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 destroyed, concealed, or removed the clothing he wore during the shooting, and the conduct that constitutes an offense would be a capital felony. So I wonder if they've even found that. I wonder if it's gone. It says that he attempted, what does it say? Destroyed, concealed, or removed. So it's possible that he destroyed it. And of course, that would have gunshot residue, DNA, stuff like that, right? Count 5, tampering with a witness, going back to the day of again. The defendant, Robinson, attempted to induce or otherwise cause his roommate to withhold testimony, information, a document, or an item, to wit, directing his roommate to delete incriminating text messages. And we heard about that in the press conference today, and we will read about that tonight at 7:30 p.m., which is a little over 2 hours from now. Count 6, tampering with a witness, third-degree felony in violation of Utah codes. Blah, blah, blah. Intended to prevent an official proceeding or investigation, attempted to induce or otherwise cause his roommate to withhold testimony or information, to wit, directing his roommate to stay silent if police questioned the roommate. Yeah, note to all of us, if we have a wackadoo friend, partner, life partner, lover, whatever, and they say, hey, I have done this illegal thing. If the cops question you, just be quiet. Note that do not be quiet. And it appears that the roommate followed that advice. He's our, or she is our example, right? Yeah. Okay. And then it gets into the probable cause statement, which we will read tonight at 7:30. So with that, let's just see if there are any. I know this is a short one, but I wanted to cover this. Kay Bling is asking, are they going after the DP? They are indeed. Yes. Let's see if there's anything else. Mooney talking about a new pup. It's a sweet little pup. Autumn, what happened was his mom recognized him in the pictures that were released by the FBI. And then she talked to her son and said, "Was that you?" And he said, "No, I wasn't even there. I was somewhere else." Then she talks to her husband, Robinson's father, and he says, "You're right. It does look like our son." So he talks to the son through text. And I think they talked even saying, this really looks like you. Could this have been you? And then, oh, by the way, Grandpa really wants to take an inventory of where everything is. Can you send me a picture of the gun? Because Dad's suspicious. Mom and Dad are suspicious, right? Send me a picture of the gun. Of course, he couldn't because he had left the gun behind and could not. So they talked him into coming to talk to them and then talking to a friend who is a former sheriff's deputy. Of course, if we believe what Governor Cox and Director Patel said, the parents, the deputy sheriff called it all in. They reported it. They tipped it in. And then they convinced him to turn himself in, which he did. So, yeah. Sensei Wackadoodle says, "It's not me. Don't be a wackadoodle, be a Sensei Wackadoodle." I think that's fine advice. I think that is fine advice. Yeah, Amy, his roommate, they are a romantic couple. That is true. Yeah, I think we got somebody from Vermont. Man, we got lots of people all over the place. So guys, thanks for joining me on this short one. That was a short hearing. Of course, we didn't expect it to be anything else. Let's put on our calendars that the next hearing is September 29th at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. It's a waiver reading. It will be via WebEx. Utah has very open laws, so I'm sure that it will be streamed. We will cover it here on this channel. Oh, the one other thing that I did want to note, that I was taking down quick notes, he granted a protective order for Erica Kirk, the widow of Charlie Kirk. So I don't have a picture of her. I don't have one available, but she has a protective order against Mr. Robinson. He typically what that means is that he may not reach out. He may not through himself directly or any intermediaries. He has to stay far, far away. No letters, no calls, no texts, no messages, no friends knocking on doors, nothing. He gets none of that. And that is pretty standard and it is appropriate. So that is that. Next hearing will be the 29th. What are we at? So a little less than 2 weeks from now. But don't forget that tonight we will be going over the 4 documents that I have in this case, which are the bail order. Let me push the right buttons. The bail order, the public safety assessment report, the information sheet, which is what we're just looking at, and the probable cause affidavit. Who is this from? Who wrote this affidavit? This affidavit was written by Officer Brian Davis. So, and it has some things that are a little bit different. So yeah, we're going to be going over that tonight at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. So I invite you to join us then. With that, I will bid you adieu. Thank you very much for being classy. Thank you very much for being here, and I will see you tonight. Take care. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.